Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching Blair and Company. My name is Joshua Blair, and today I have entrepreneur, Renaissance man, just the whole nine, Mr. Kobie Randolph. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good, my brother. Doing pretty good.
That's good. That's good. So we're just gonna talk to you about a little bit about just you growing up, just some of the ventures you had going on throughout your life, and also talk about this future film you're doing. So we just want to just talk to you about just a little of the things you have going on, and just pick your brain a little bit. Is that okay with you?
Man, that's 100%. Let's get into it.
Okay, perfect. So
Cool with me.
so tell me a little bit about your childhood growing up, and I know you're from Memphis, so tell me a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and I really was always a serial entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I worked like a regular job for like 2 weeks at Chili's when I was like 14, and I was like, nah, I got to be a better way to survive than this. And I tried everything. Like I had a car wash. I had like a mobile detailing business at one point.
Mm.
I had like a beatery jewelry business at one point. But it all ultimately led to me being in nightlife. So it like nightlife was sort of my entryway in the entertainment industry.
Mhm.
So I used to throw like a lot of high school parties and I used to DJ in high school. And it, on the level of like 1,000 to 2,000 teenagers would come. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So pretty on a pretty big level. And
Mhm.
that sort of became the gateway of me trying to get into the music industry. But in Memphis, where I grew up, it really wasn't a lot of outlets as it are there are now to the music industry. You know what I mean? Like there really
Mhm.
weren't pillars in the industry who are from Memphis who could really push the needle and make something happen. I mean, you have a lot of opportunities, way more today than they were when I was coming up in Memphis.
Mhm.
So I sort of got obsessed with being that person so well connected in the industry that if I saw someone who was talented, I would be able to come back and help them, you know what I mean? Or at least give them the right guidance and direction. So I sort of started at 15 years old trying to put together what is the blueprint to make it at the highest level in show business. And
Mhm.
so I was just infatuated with that. Even in high school, like a lot of people who look at what I'm doing today is like, oh, I didn't know you was going to be in film and TV, but I knew you would be in something entertainment because that's always what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so I remember very vivid story. Uh, my senior year in high school, I told my parents, I needed to go to Los Angeles or, you know, New York or LA for a weekend to try to figure out, how could I break into the industry? And I
Mhm.
talk about this a little bit in the movie, and I wound up going, and it turns into this crazy weekend of events that uh, that happens, but no one knew what happened because there was no social media.
Yeah.
So all of these crazy things happened to me. I had a few pictures, but it wasn't nowhere near the amount of opportunities I tell my girlfriend this story and she laughs at me, but I remember this like when I was 18 years old, I went to
Mhm.
this party in California and everyone thought I was on a TV show. And the only other person there was Michael B. Jordan, who was my age. So I
Mhm.
remember all these people coming up to me and coming to Michael B. Jordan, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it's like, hey, when is your next movie? Or and these people will call me. Some of these people I still even know today and have done business with today. But when I came back to high school, I was still back in high school. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everyone else at the party probably went back, to their movie sets on Monday, but I had to go back to high school, and that just sort of instilled something in me, like, yo, I got to get back to Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Yeah.
where my future lies, and it took me 10 years as the movie goes. It took me 10 years to get finally come back. But that's a little brief story about how I grew up.
And that's crazy that you mentioned that because that was going to be my next question. Because I was going to talk about, I think in the movie you were talking about, you went to the NAACP awards, or
Uh huh.
yeah, and your friends were saying you were trying to get your friends to go with you,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
were just looking at you crazy, like, what do you mean? So, what was like the reactions you were receiving during that time?
Man, that's a very good question. Mind you, when I say I'm going, everyone thinks I'm crazy or lying, but it was senior skip day. So
Mm.
everyone went to the park, to the barbecue, and I
Yeah.
didn't go. They was like, "Where you at?" I'm like, "Man, I'm headed to the airport." They're like, "Where you going?" I feel like I'm going to Hollywood. Like I told you I
Uh-huh.
was going. So everyone still thinks I'm crazy at this point. And so it wasn't until till I got back. And when I had back, I had like this is when you used to have like the disposable cameras, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like the little throwaway cameras, whatever. So I
Yeah.
had all these pictures. Someone would follow me, someone not, but like I had like, okay, look, it's me and Holly Berry, it's me and this one, it's me and that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the principal called me to the office and was like, he was calling all the seniors who didn't come to school to the office, like, hey, we know it's senior skip day, but we still gotta call your parents.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, call. She was like, you're not. Your principal was like, you're not wasn't in school Friday. We're calling your parents. I'm like, you can call my parents, but I wasn't at senior skip day. I was in Hollywood I was on the red carpet at the
Yeah.
award show. He was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, look, these my tickets. Like, these are tickets from the award show. He was like, oh man, you ain't gonna run no game. He was like, you're not gonna run this game on me. I'm calling your parents. And I
Yeah.
vividly remember him telling him, I was like, listen, you can call my mama, you can call my daddy. Call Denzel Washington. He seen me. And like, it's like no one believed me. No one believed me. But you know, like maybe an hour later, Megan Good called my phone when I was in class. And so I didn't pick up the phone because I didn't know who it was. I just noticed all these like 323-818 numbers were calling me, but these were people who I made connections with, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I told Megan that I wanted to do this charity event she was shooting this movie called Roll Bounce with Bow Wow at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they was going to start promoting it. And I was like, yo, why don't you come to Memphis and let me take you to the Children's Hospital and we do this Roll Bounce premiere event. It'll be dope. Just at St. Jude. And so I was just throwing some shit out there trying to make conversation. So she starts calling me, right? And so the first 2 times I didn't pick up. So I got this message, and message was like, I forgot the girl's name, but it was like, hey, this is Susan. I'm an assistant to Megan Good. She's trying to get in contact with you to talk to you about, doing that thing in Memphis. And I'm like, oh shit, this shit worked, right? So I leave, and I'm a senior, so I leave class and I go to the computer lab. Like, mind you, I had like 3 classes my senior. You know how when you're senior in classes. So, man, I'm in a computer lab trying to type up a proposal. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get my friend to spell check it. And I went to the office and I was like, yo, I have a fax coming through from Los Angeles. We looking for this fax. Everybody think I'm crazy. You know what I'm saying? They're like, what the hell is this nigga on? You know what I'm saying? So that's what people thought. You know what? It's probably not, to some of those people, I was probably still crazy until recent years. You know what I mean? Like, well, probably still to today, but now they have like tangible evidence that, at least what I was saying, there was some truth to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But back then, when it was just my word and I'm sitting in English class, I'm like, man, I'm telling you, I got all the agents back in Hollywood. They trying to put me in the next movie. They think like, this dude's lost his mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But the crazy thing about it is, for me, I'm just like, how did you like finesse your way into doing that? Like, because that's just crazy how one day you're just in Memphis at your high school, and then the next day you're in Hollywood on the red carpet. Like, I just felt like for me, it's just like, how did you finesse your way into making those connections and getting that exposure so early?
This is what people don't really understand about me outside of the party. I'm an extremely strategic person. I mean, almost like obsessive with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will fact check, investigate, like to the night. If I'm passionate about it, I mean, I'm going to the depths of the ocean to figure out this information. So what sort of first made me think, that it was possible was what was going on with me that's why your first question was so great. How did I grow up? Because, we're products of our experiences, right?
Exactly.
So when I was growing up in high school, I lived a double life. This is a lot of people, like, even when I go back to Memphis, it's some people who know me and they don't know nothing about me being in high school. They just know, oh, that's Kobie, the young dude who always at the parties. But even when I was in high school, so like, because I looked pretty old when I was in high school. So when I was 16 years old, like my junior, senior year in high school, I would get out of school at 3:00, put on a suit, and go downtown like a happy hour. So I had a whole group of people who knew me in Memphis just as a young adult, even when I was 16. And then I had a whole group of people who just knew me from, oh, that's Kobie from the football team, right?
Yeah.
So when I knew that, so I started to understand that like these imaginary lines of boundaries and authority,
Mm-hmm.
they weren't really real to a certain
Yeah.
extent. You know what I'm saying? Like to a
Mm-hmm.
certain extent, people are brainwashed to believe and taught to believe to the things that they're taught. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I was like, well, if I look the part and act the part of the contrast of what you expect me to be, you want to assume that I'm that. So if I'm 16, but I have the conversation with someone who's in their early 20s, you know what I'm saying, who probably is in grad school, I dress, you know what I'm saying, I have a nice suit on or whatever. I keep a
Mm-hmm.
conversation. You're probably going to assume like, oh, this is a young, mover and shaker in Tennessee, in Memphis, Tennessee. So it down that path, I wound up getting cool with sort of like the who's who of Memphis. So like I was cool with like the mayor of Memphis, like at a young age. Like he
Mm-hmm.
never knew I was in high school. Like I was going to like his birthday party and his cheerleading event.
That is
You know what I'm saying?
crazy.
So I would be like, it got to the point to where my mom would call me. So many people would call my mom
Mm-hmm.
and was like, "Is this your son?" Because I know him. Like we hang out on the weekends, and this was people who work with my mom. So she
Yeah.
would be like, "How do you know my son? He's 16 years old, or he's 17 years old." And she's like, "Oh
Yeah.
no, he be at all the parties. He be at First Fridays. He be here, he be there,
Yeah.
right?" So like that was like the first time where I understood just the human psychology of people, and I
Mm-hmm.
realized that people are people. So I'm like, well, if that's gonna work in Tennessee, why wouldn't that work in Hollywood?
Yeah.
That's what first made me start thinking like that. And then
Mm-hmm.
I started just getting obsessed with how do we consume information and how we view um I'm gonna say something and people sometimes take this from the wrong perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Um I got really not obsessed, but I got really passionate about how we perceive information and fame.
Mm.
Now, the reason why I wanted to understand how we did that was because I was like, well, if I can control how fame is created and fame influences so much of how we behave in the world, then
Mm-hmm.
I can control that for a positive light. See, in hip hop, they control that for the negative light. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, people always talk about they don't have good examples of African American leaders in the community. And why doesn't that rapper talk about something positive? Well, he may just be a street nigga from the projects. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So he may not know any better. So how do I understand how to make the machine? Fuck the
Yeah.
end product. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's why I really got into like, how does this whole Hollywood process work? Because if I can understand how the machine to make the products, then we can start feeding the messaging of whatever we want to tell. You know what I mean? So that's what sort of put me down that path. Um, so when I got down that, one of the key things of getting down that path, I wanted to know like, what is the key element that separates Hollywood from the rest of the world? Because there's something going on out here in the world today that
Yeah.
when you wake up in the morning, it's going to be on your newspaper. How does that happen?
Yeah.
How does that
Mm-hmm.
happen? You know what I'm saying? Because if you can understand that, then you can understand how this whole thing works. Like you'll understand an idea, someone shot this program that we're doing right now, and this
Yeah.
is going to air on MTV tomorrow. What was that like, right? And that's I started like really digging into that at an early age, and it boiled down to a few key things. And
Mm-hmm.
then it was a matter of me putting that logic to, in theory, to actual like physical, tangible things, and it took me coming to Hollywood to do that. So that's
And
sort of what put me down
and
the
I
route.
really feel like just that thinking just propelled you in the light that a lot of people don't go. And I feel like I really commend you for doing that because people don't think like that. So yeah, I really commend you on that and just believing, like, just making connections with people, like depending on who they are, and then getting to a place where you can just, I want to say, grow your profile as a person, or grow your
Yeah.
profile as like a socialite, as they would say. So I
Mm-hmm.
definitely commend you on that.
Oh, thank you, bro. Yeah, that's what I was. That's what I was. That's what sent me down the rabbit hole. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And and a lot of those things, a lot of those thoughts were real. I used to think they were just thoughts because you know how when you, especially when you're young and you
Yeah.
have an idea, you think that there's a million more people with that idea.
Yeah.
Well, the beauty of any industry where there's a physical location where the apex of the industry is in a location, well, you can easily tell how many people have your idea. Just go there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because once you go there, if it's 1,000 people, holding up that proposal with the same thing, the idea is not that rare. But when you walk in a room and it's you, and you look to the left and look to the right, and it's only the only other black people are Jay-Z and Oprah Winfrey, you're gonna start to understand, like, wow, yeah, like I may be the only other person with this idea. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I started to run into those moments. You know what I'm saying?
And that's good. That's good. So after high school, I know in the movie you were saying you didn't see yourself going to college. You didn't see like just a reason for you going to college. So you ended up going to Tennessee State University.
Yeah.
And during that time, you had your own it was your marketing and event company, and it was called First Class Entertainment.
Yeah.
So what did you learn from having that, just being the founder of that company, and how did you use it while you were there?
Man, that was the greatest thing that probably happened to my entertainment career, because making this movie, I never thought I would ever make a movie. But it's all the experiences that I took from these other companies that gave me the skill set. I didn't know I was, a lot of times, like when God's putting you through a process, you don't know why, or I'm saying God, but whatever, you can take it from other things, like more tangible, like Karate Kid. He didn't know wax on, wax off was teaching him how to do martial arts. That's sort of how that process was for me. So, doing a nightclub. Well, first I had the events company, then I was a DJ, then we opened up a nightclub. That was so crucial. One, further on that, how fame works. From the music industry standpoint, college culture determined hip hop culture. Because if it's popping on the colleges, especially when Facebook first hit, you had to be in college to have Facebook. Well, all the popular, from like Soulja Boy to Swag Surfing to like all those dance records coming out of Atlanta, if you was at an HBCU, I was getting it like a year before anyone even knew about it. And so these record labels started to send artists. So I worked with Chris Brown when he was 16. I had Trey Songz before anyone knew Trey Songz. A lot of artists, and they just came through the college radio station. And I had a big show at the time. And that was really, 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 and what I did was, we had about, at one point, like 40 employees. Like, because you can get cheap labor in college. So everybody wants to be, everybody wanted to be on a street team. Everybody wanted. Now, I had two other business partners. At the time when I went to college, there was no black entertainment nightlife scene really in Nashville. Now there's a huge one. Now there's a huge just scene, metropolitan scene in Nashville.
Yeah.
My two business partners, who we start working together, they now own all of the nightclubs and restaurants in Nashville. And the other one is pretty much owns the airways, number one DJ, on the air. That was probably the greatest contribution I felt like I left, is to be a part of that. What's still going on today. And now there's not a record label that doesn't go through Nashville and does promo, you know what I'm saying? Because of that imprint that we built. So yeah, it was just a cornerstone. Also, what it taught me was a party, from like what I learned from making a dope party happen, all the hype and bringing people to this experience of a party is what you need to promote a movie. All the, decor and decorations and lighting that you need to do a fly lounge or a nightclub, that's set design in the movie. All the scoring that you put in music in a movie, that's me DJing the party. So like all these things that I didn't know that I did for 10 years, I didn't know that I would be using those same elements in the film.
And that's crazy. And it just shows like everything goes hand in hand eventually. Yeah. And I just really just like I said, I commend you just for keep pushing and keep transitioning into different roles. And then it's just crazy how everything is just starting to come back together. So I definitely commend you on that.
Well, there's a you gotta stay in a race long enough to see that comeback. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a unknown period before the circle can come all the way back around. Yeah, it just looked like you're going into the darkness. So you have to have enough foresight yourself to really know that, okay, this, like energy doesn't go to waste, right? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It transfers. So if you put 10 years of energy into whatever you put it in, it's going to come back. That's what I kept telling myself. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I knew where I was when I was in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter how, unsure LA seemed. I knew what my background was. So I was like, and I saw what my other peers were doing, the trajectory of my other peers. And I was like, as humble as possible to say, like, man, I was that nigga then. So like whenever I get my payday for all this work I'm doing, it's going to come back. Like I've never been a person who hasn't, succeeded at what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? So I just knew that. So at times when people probably like, man, what the hell is this dude? He's talking about he making a movie, this and that. I knew that they couldn't see, you know what I'm saying? They only see like the tip of the iceberg, you know what I'm saying? But I knew in my heart was like, yo, this energy that I'm putting in this will eventually come back, you know what I'm saying? So that's, advice I give to any entrepreneur out there who's going through that.
And that's great because I feel like a lot of people need to know that now, especially in this area of COVID, where we're all in the house. And I feel like a lot of people the best ideas are coming through during this time when we're just stuck in the house and we're trying to figure out what's our next move. So I definitely agree. I feel like that's really great advice for any entrepreneur.
Yeah, like Nip said it best. I was one of his songs. He was just like, man, he went through every emotion. I think any entrepreneur does that. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like wanting to quit. I don't feel like wanting to stop. I feel like, man, is it me? Everyone's gonna go there. Is it me? Like, am I crazy? You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's gonna go through that. You know what I'm saying? Which that's just you getting polished. You're getting polished how you need to get polished for what's to come ahead. You know what I'm saying? So once you win, it's like, no, it wasn't me. It was them. You know what I'm saying? They were wrong. You know what I'm saying? But you will question yourself, like, am I crazy? Like, this, like, am I in an illusion? You know what I'm saying? But nah, it's not. You're not in an illusion.
And that's good. And I feel like a lot of people need to hear that just to make it seem like they're okay and you're not coming off as like you're coming off being like crazy. So
no, you're not crazy. You're not crazy. You may be crazy for attempting to do what you're doing, but what you're doing is not crazy at all. It's going to be genius once it works if you stay in the race. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So transitioning from that, you started running the nightclub, and for people who don't know, this man was the youngest nightclub owner in all of America. So what was that, having that accolade like, and how was it running a nightclub?
Man, I mean, the accolade is cool. I mean, it was a lot of press and news when, I was 21 when I got the liquor license and 22 when we opened it. And mind you, this is the first African-American nightclub downtown Nashville, and it's 10,000 square feet. And this is first, I'm here in Hollywood, where if some of the things that I'm about to say is like, Vegas, Miami, Hollywood, they've been doing it forever. But, coming from the South, they just didn't have things like this. Like they didn't have like cabanas and, airless coming out the sky and, sparklers on bottles of Ace of Spade or any of that back then. And so I was the first person to, introduce a lot of those concepts. My whole goal was to change the culture of a city. Because I figured if we can't, now what I didn't know at the time was hospitality is a huge thing to change the culture of a city, but nightlife is the lowest thing on the totem pole of hospitality. So if you want a nightclub like that to thrive, you got to get an international airport, because the international airport is going to control the amount of melting pot, the tourism that's coming in for conventions. And those people may be coming from Dubai, they may be coming from Vegas, they may be coming from Miami. So they're going to have a palette that's conducive to what you're trying to do. You can't build a nightclub like that off of a blue collar market where, no one who's come to nightclubs has ever seen any of this shit. You know what I'm saying?
They don't have the money for it.
And don't have the money who just can afford it. So, I got this 10,000 square foot nightclub, and homecoming is great. Yeah. You know what I mean? 4th of July is great. New Year's Eve is great, but I got to fill this joint up all the time.
Exactly.
Right? And when it's like 1,000 people in the club, it autopilots. I used to think that, man, what am I going to do when it's packed in here? That really doesn't kill you, because it's weird. It autopilots itself. It sort of runs itself when it's a lot of people. What kills you is that 2 o'clock in the morning. It's a thunderstorm outside. It's 30 degrees, and the alarm is going off, and the fire department is calling you because a homeless man has broken into your your facility for shelter. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or you got this big party plan with a celebrity coming in, and then there's a sewage problem in a restroom. You know what I'm saying? It's all the maintenance things that kill you in a nightclub. You know what I mean? So especially young, mind you, like, I gotta go sit in front of the city board town hall meeting for, whatever, just because I'm a business owner downtown and I got English class at 2 o'clock. But if I don't come to this meeting, they ain't gonna give me this liquor license. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I mean, at this point, I wasn't even going to class no more. I'm like, man, I am like literally running a full, and I had some business partners. We weren't getting along, so we in lawyer offices all the time. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely was an amazing experience. And at 16, having a nightclub is all I wanted to do. I just wanted to own a nightclub. I was like, I'm just gonna own the dopest, flyest nightclub. That was to me, that was to me being a Grammy Award winning movie music producer. You know what I'm saying? I was like, just give me the nightclub. But in retrospect, it was a great just stepping stone. I couldn't see it then, but it was just a great stepping stone for what I was gonna do for the rest of my life.
Exactly. And I feel like the way you explained it, going into my next question, when you released your book, The Champagne Life, I feel like you really went into depth on how everything worked and how you did every transition of your life led you up to what you're doing now.
Yeah. And then, you got to write your own history.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I started writing the book the day I got the keys to the club, because I was like, well, I'm 21 years old. I got this nightclub that's going to build. Let me start writing a book about how I got here. And then, like, I'm working on another book right now. And even the movie has like been the second phase of the book. It's like a continuation of where the book leaves off.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give a blueprint on how any of this shit works.
Yeah.
Because when I was coming up, I couldn't find the information, and I looked everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I wanted the information from someone who looked and sounded like me. And when I say that, that's not a black or white thing. I wanted to know, if I'm 17 and a dude opened up a club at 22, I wanted to hear his 22-year-old version of how he got there. I did not want to hear his 45-year-old version of how he got there.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a disconnect. So that's why I thought it was so crucial to record these things and do these things in real time as close as possible. So the next person who's coming behind me, I can write it in the mindset of what they're going through. And they can be like, oh man, he did it A, B, C, D. Okay, well, I can do it just like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then also, I was kind of disagree with you, because I feel like it would be like a black and white thing. Because also, you don't see black men like us open up nightclubs at 22. So that's why I'm like, so that I feel like is a blueprint, say that you could do it too.
Oh, well, 100%. And not taking away from, obviously, the cultural similarities that we would have, you know what I'm saying? But I say both. I say definitely as an African-American, you can do it too. And as just the youth in general, you know what I'm saying? If you're a young person, there's no age limit on success.
True.
So if you're a young person, here's the advice from another young person. I mean, I was very frustrated, like when I was 17, 18 years old, and I had no books. I read Russell Simmons' book. I read Kevin Liles' book. I read so many books, and like the story would be like this: man, one day I ain't have nothing. I got an intern. The next page, I won 10 Grammys. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What happens
so
in between?
what's the gap in between?
Yes, in between you think you having an intern and grabbing coffee to winning 10 Grammys. And that's how every book was. So I thought that there's something that, is not, I didn't know if it was a secret society or a game they didn't want to give away, but I just try to be an advocate for filling that gap and giving that information.
Okay. And I feel like it's really going to help people who want to get into that field. So I definitely agree.
Yeah.
So moving on to, so what made you want to do the movie?
My natural talents are more TV and film than music. Okay. And I've been told I'm a pretty good DJ. I've DJed, pretty much in every major city, crowds of thousands, every genre of music. But I don't make music, and I think to to really be great at music, you have to be musically inclined. You know what I'm saying? And I would use my skills to put in the music artist, but we would go to label meetings and the executive would be like, well, I don't know who's the artist. You or him. I would get that all the time. I'm like, who's the star here? You or him? You know what I'm saying? I can't tell the difference. Or people would put me to the side and was like, your guy's cool, but do you rap? Like, I would get that all the time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, I don't rap, but whatever they're seeing in me, I want to bet on myself. It got down to the point where it's like I would tell the artist to do something and it just didn't resonate. I'm like, man, I got to bet on myself. And I could naturally do that in film and TV. And also too, I feel like there's my efforts would be more appreciated in this industry, in film and TV, because I think there's enough rappers, there's enough people in music, you know what I'm saying, telling that story. I wanted to make colorful, powerful stories for us.
Yeah.
And bring my Renaissance flair or taste for films for us. I want to make movies like the joints coming out. Like I want to make classic Hollywood films depicted by us. Like I want to remake, Pretty Woman. I want to remake for us. I want to do, Ocean's 11 for us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I just feel like a lot of the movies were typical, ball player dribbles up out the hood, drug dealer gets shot, gets killed too early, single black mom. And those stories are very important and, great, but what about just the rom-coms that are super dope and smart and funny? You know what I mean? What about, you know what I'm saying? Where's the Sex in the City for us? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want to make those type of movies.
Or they do like the slave movies, of course.
Oh, of course. You know what I'm saying? Or they do like a period piece slave. I felt what I'm learning in the movie industry is that the movies are definitely a direct mirror of your imagination. So a lot of the films that we see, they're mirrors of the producers who are making the films.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe there hasn't been a producer like myself who come along and was like, yo, I sort of look at life like this, through this rose colored lens. I think the shit should be fly, it should be like this, it should be like that. It should be, it shouldn't just be, how many more gangster flicks can we make? How many more, you know what I'm saying? So I like, what about this dude who works at, who's an entertainment lawyer and he works at this huge firm, he got all these dope clients and he, got the love triangle in the office, like, but a modern version of that. What does that look like? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I just think you see so many white movies that have that, you know what I mean? And I feel like the black movies are sort of pigeonholed in like with what they traditionally are known for. So I just wanted to bring a new light to the game. And I thought that even my story, I didn't think I was going to be in the movie when I first started. But let me say this on record. I am Gatsby. Like most people in Memphis just know me as Kobie, but here more people know me as Gatsby than they know Kobie.
Exactly.
So I am the real character in real life, which that had never been done before, which was extremely challenging. But Gatsby is a fragment of Kobie's imagination of themes and ideals that he saw on TV. So when I first came up with this character and I wanted to make this movie, I just thought about, all right, what did I see on TV that I like? Okay, I like how Will Smith was on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when he did this little thing like this. Or I like when Stefan Urkel, like when Steve Urkel turned into Stefan and he came out the machine and how he looked like that. Or I like, when Frank Sinatra did this thing. Or I like when George Clooney did. I just put all these characters. I like how Eddie Murphy was crazy in this scene. And I just put them into one person. Yeah. And like, I was like, yo, this character is my version of the personification of what a Hollywood person is. That's really what Gatsby is. You know what I'm saying? So, and I was like, I made the movie for my imagination. You know what I'm saying? It's just like my art. I was like, yo, I want to make this character so colorful and outrageous. Like he'll do anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's sort of what the final, after I realized I wanted to make a movie, coming up with that character to tell this story was, the final piece to it.
Yeah. And for me, I watched it last night and I really enjoyed it. And then another thing that I noticed a lot of people saying in the movie was you brought back, what was the word that they said? You brought back like a certain type of like style or a certain type of class back to LA that was missing for a long time when it comes to like parties and stuff. And I'm just, for me, I was like, so what were they missing? That was like what I was trying to figure out that you brought back to LA.
Well, there's a and they said it about LA, but I think it's just in the world in general. I think if I would have done this in New York, they would say he would have brought it back to New York.
Hmm.
There is, I mean, let me make this make sense to everybody who's listening.
Okay.
Um, LA in general is a very casual city.
Hmm.
It's very casual compared to New York or even Chicago.
Hmm.
Like most people in LA are entrepreneurs, or in
Yeah.
some sense, whether actors work in the industry. So LA in general, think about all the fashion trends that come out of LA, whether it be Ed Hardy, you know what I'm saying? When
Yeah.
that was out, or Von Dutch. It's very
Yeah.
casual, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a
Hmm.
very denim and white shirt, or now sweats are the thing, sweats, or athleisure.
Hmm.
So when you go to LA and like in a club, people ain't really dressed up like that. Like,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? You get ball players who on the off season who wearing sweats with maybe $500,000 with the jewelry, but no one's really dressed. Like in New York, people are more dressed, even
Yeah.
traditionally. I just think like now on a fashion tip, everything for like the last 15 years has just gotten more casual and leisure, period. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I think that my personal style and the character has a very nostalgic old Hollywood feel.
Hmm.
So just aesthetically, when they say I brought something back, I just think reintroducing this
Mm.
nostalgia of old Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? And that just really comes with not even more than just the fashion aesthetic, but even the decor aesthetic. I just try to provide like court society, like the elegance of court society,
Yeah.
and all the details, and even the music. Like I do, my holiday party has like a Vegas style Sinatra jazz band with a
Yeah.
30-foot Christmas tree. You know what I'm saying? Like you're, at Macy's or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and that's sort of always been my aesthetic. You know what I'm saying? I much rather have the grand piano
Yeah.
and by the fireplace than the DJ and everybody jumping around. So I just
Yeah.
think that most people who've experienced that side of what I've done, they always relate that to an older theme.
Okay. Now it makes sense. Okay. I got you. So, what do you want once the movie is released? What do you want people to get out of, like, what do you want the lesson to be learned for people watching the movie?
The number one lesson I want people to take away is the movie's really about dreams,
Mm.
and your dreams are real. So
Hmm.
when people say like, "What did you learn in Hollywood?" I really didn't learn much. I
Hmm.
promise. I confirmed what I thought. When
Yeah.
I was 17, I thought that this shit went a certain type of way.
Hmm.
Now, I learned a lot about myself in the process of finding the gold at the end of the road. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Going
Uh-huh.
through the process, we all find ourselves. I learned a lot about myself. But about
Hmm.
Hollywood, it was literally about how my imagination thought it would be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the the jewel at the end was I confirmed it through my experiences, and I didn't let the naysayers or the roadblocks or the gatekeepers deter me from taking the chance to go on that journey,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So I think life is all about, and you see this in every great movie: Wizard of Oz, Lion King. The journey is finding yourself. Now,
Exactly.
on the path, you think it's about. So, like for me, I thought the movie was about, like in my physical sense of doing the story, I thought it
Hmm.
was about me trying to get this record deal finally. We really wasn't about that. On
Yeah.
the way to get the record deal, sent me down this lane of finding Jay-Z, that sent me down this lane of going to the Oscars with an Oscar.
Hmm.
Once I got there, I was blindsided by the much bigger thing, which is facing myself, to realize you don't need validation by these people. These people don't even know if you won an Oscar or not. And they all
Exactly.
are being very nice to you.
Yeah.
So in the morning when I woke up, it gave me the confidence that, man, I can just be in the industry. I don't need a deal. I don't need this. I don't need to be signed to make a movie. I can just make a movie. Because they
Yeah.
all think I won an Oscar anyways. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So what is this Oscar really worth? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hmm.
So I think that the take-home message that I want somebody to take here is like, you're enough. You don't need anyone to say, hey, because in Tennessee, right? What you
Yeah.
thinking? I'm watching BET as a kid. I'm thinking, man, I just want Russell Simmons or Andre Harrell or P. Diddy or Jay-Z or
Mm-hmm.
Rick Rubin or Jimmy Iovine to come and they're gonna put the chain around my neck and then the confetti is gonna fall out the sky and then
Yeah.
we're gonna get on a private jet and I'm gonna say, Mama, I made it and I'm headed to Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's me, that's the fantasy, you know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
really what that feeling is validation, but you don't need the validation. You validate yourself. You know what I'm saying? You validate yourself through your actions.
Exactly.
So that's what I want people to take home from this. You know what I mean? And I wanted to make the most crazy, ridiculous, outlandish movie self-produced by myself to say, look, I never made a movie before. It never goes. Boom, there you go. Every star you want to see in it, hit play, you're gonna see them. Yeah. Everything you want to see, hit play, you're gonna see it. I made it by myself. So that's just, I just want the movie to serve as a testament of, you know, what you have the power to do by yourself.
And I'm glad you made that you made that point, because I remember at the end of the movie you said Gatsby Randolph is you. So
Yeah.
basically you're just saying like you're the one that makes that decision and you're the one that's stopping your dreams from happening.
Yeah, 100%. It's you. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a representation of you because everybody got imagination. You know what I'm saying? From here to Bangkok, everybody wants to do something that seems larger than life. And so it's nothing that special about me. I just took the chance, which you can do.
Yeah, most definitely. In my segment, this is the Black Kings Project, where we just uplift African American men that are doing great things. Um, I always ask this question for all the people I normally interview. What makes you a Black king?
I think the number one thing that makes me Black King is I make my own rules. And I'm prepared to deal with the consequences of those choices I make in making the own rules. So, you know, I think, you know, when you look at success or you say you're running a kingdom, what is a kingdom? I think the kingdom is your space on this earth and you making the decisions of and living with the decisions that you make of how you're going to operate in this space. So the fact that I think I'm a Black king, what makes me Black king is I wake up every day, I do what I love, and you know, not only do I do what I love, but I create the world around me. I'm not a victim to the world around me. I create the world around me, and that's what I think makes me Black king.
And that was perfectly said. I really agree with that. So where can we find you on social media? And also, when can we find the movie once it come out?
Boom. Here we go. Who is Gatsby Randolph? Just hit me up on Instagram. I'm very friendly to talk to. I'll give you advice. I do a lot of micro mentoring through DMs. People hit me up. I give them advice all the time. Who is Gatsby Randolph? February 23rd. BLK Prime is going to be on pay-per-view. So you just go to BLK Prime, just like any other streaming platform. That's BLK Prime. And then, or you can just go to pay-per-view if you just want to go straight to pay-per-view, but it's on pay-per-view. You can watch the movie. It'll be there for whatever the time it would usually be in a theater, and then it will stream on blkprime.com. So that's it. February 23rd. It's a big day. And hopefully I see you guys at the Oscars.
Okay, perfect. So what else do you have coming this year for 2021?
Working on part 2 already. We've already started shooting a
Wow.
little bit of part 2. I mean, people don't know part 1 took about 5 years to make because it was the first time doing something like this, and there's a lot of, for audience who hasn't seen the movie, it's a lot of stuff in the movie that we had to do. But part 2, the foundation is set up, so we're already working on that. And got another script called Karma Jones I'm doing. It's gonna be like a remake of Eddie Murphy's Boomerang. Working on that. I even have a project that I started doing treatment for called Germantown. It's like a scripted 1-hour drama series. Takes place in Memphis, Tennessee. So yeah, I'm just excited, man. I'm working every day. I'm excited. And just don't let COVID kill your dreams. You know what I'm saying? You know, kill COVID. Don't let COVID kill your dreams. That's it.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day just to speak with me and just be a part of the Black Kings Project for my segment. Just like I said, everybody, you can follow him on social media. You said on who is Gatsby?
Who is Gatsby Randolph?
Who is Gatsby Randolph? Okay, perfect. So thank you everyone for watching. This interview will be coming this upcoming week. Stay posted, and we'll talk to you later.
My man.